Welcome to the next episode of the Chris Rodmack Show. Today we have a very special guest, Sam, and also joining us is our co-host, Ro. Welcome back, Sam. Very good to have you on the show.
I can tell you right now, I'd rather be in a cafe given what these guys know about AI, but we can get into that later. Yeah. I think the people in the cafe might know more about AI than the average VC, but no, I just kidding. They're really smart. They're smart people here. They're smart people. Yeah, I really like them. They're great. I want to give a shout out to Boston because they've let us be here free for 6 months, which is really generous. We met lots of good people. They've given us plenty of good advice. We just have some slight differences of opinion from time to time about AI. And
Perfect.
That's okay.
I think that's amazing, and that actually plays into, I guess, we'll kick off the show really quickly to play into the first question I have for you, right?
Yeah.
You've been doing AI, and you spent the last 6 months, I guess, I don't know how long more in the 6 months in. Love to hear a little bit about your background. How did you get into AI? And I check out your background. You basically went from, I guess, an economist at Bank of England, I believe, and all the way down to AI. So talk us through a little bit about your journey so far.
Yeah, nice. So I studied econ at uni and I really loved economics and I didn't really care that much about making money actually. So like I wanted instead to have a macro scale impact basically on society, and policy at the Bank of England felt like a good way to do that. It's like, hey, if I could tweak the right knob for the government, then I'm going to impact the whole of society. Isn't that great? And the reality of policy making when you're a 22-year-old actually isn't like that. You're not the one tweaking the knob. You're just like writing documents that people normally ignore. But half of my job was research, and I really liked that half. And I was getting to write economic research papers as a 22-year-old without a PhD, which was really unusual at the time. It was very, very good opportunity. Very lucky to have a manager that supported me to do that. And I was like, hey, like maybe I should go do a PhD because I really love this research stuff, and I could still see how that could have a big impact on a macro scale. And on this side, I was actually, my job was like not that intense because it was, the civil services, public sector. So I was working like a few hours a day, and I just got into learning Python on the side, like as a hobby, right? I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like the first time I wrote a for loop, I was like, oh my God, it can do a million things in a second. Like, wow, like this computer stuff is quite something. And then I actually got into machine learning as a way to just improve my Python. But I had a background in econometrics, which is basically applied statistics. And there's a lot of crossover between statistics and machine learning, obviously. So it actually occurred to me I could probably apply for a machine learning AI PhD at the Alan Turing Institute. And they do make exceptions for people without a CS background. And because I had published research, they made an exception. I was very lucky to get in. So that was kind of how I made the switch initially from econ to AI. It's not as big a jump as you might think. I think econometrics is actually a great background for getting into AI, but you need to learn to program. You need to learn to code just a little bit. You need to not have your mind blown by a for loop if you're going to make the switch. So that's my switch. Yeah.
But you went from, well, you get your mind blown for loop and you still make it. So I believe everyone can do that. That's good.
Yeah. It's not too late, folks. Yeah. It's never too late. Yeah.
And I guess just to follow up on that, I believe, after your PhD, you also, I guess you went on and tried to start a company. Something to do.
No, that's wrong. Sorry, can I interrupt?
Yeah,
no,
go
you're
on,
right.
of course. Of course.
I actually, all right, like I don't know if I'm past the statute of limitations for like breaking contracts now or whatever, but I think I am because it's 7 years statute of limitations. My PhD was in 2018. So and I also didn't technically break any contracts, but I started my first company 9 months into my PhD. Actually, it wasn't after, it was during.
Oh, lovely. And great. And when you're doing it, I guess tell us a little bit about that, right? When you started something, I did some research, has something to do with fitness.
No, I was way stupider than that. Nowhere near that smart. Yeah. So, okay, look, I have a bit of my background. I used to compete in powerlifting when I was at university. It's like competitive weightlifting, bench squat, deadlift, just lift as heavy as you can. Hit yourself when you squat sometimes. Like that did literally happen once. We can cut that bit maybe from the recording. I don't know. It's up to you guys. But I actually burst a blood vessel on my eye in a squat competition once. And at the time I was like, oh, this is kind of gross. But all the other lifters were like, that's gnarly, man. You tried so hard. You burst a blood vessel on your eye. Anyway, yeah. So I was a really competitive powerlifter. And you know me, I'm a bit of a rambly guy. And like I like to teach people things. So I taught a lot of my friends to lift weights as well. And I taught all of my colleagues at the Bank of England to lift weights. And a lot of this teaching was over this new technology at the time called WhatsApp. So they would they'd send me videos of them lifting weights, like doing squats, and be like, can you help me with my form? And I always knew how to fix their form, right? It wasn't rocket science. And then at the Turing Institute, sitting next to a guy who ran a computer vision lab doing something called pose estimation. And this is sometimes called skeleton tracking by people, which is like, how do we get the coordinates of a human body from an image or a video? And I saw this and I was like, oh, well, like my weightlifting coaching is really just body coordinates. It's like hips need to be lower than knees at the bottom of a squat. And I was like, wow, we could make an AI version of my WhatsApp coaching. We could make an AI personal trainer and solve the problem of people lifting with bad form in the gym, which I felt so activated by. And I just immediately dived into it. I was fucking obsessed. And I got the technology working quite quickly because there'd been a big leap forward in pose estimation. So I didn't need to train my own model. I could use a pre-trained model and basically just like align it with what I needed to do. And because I got the technology working quickly, I was like, oh my God, we're going to be billionaires. Like, we've got this fancy technology and a great idea. Of course, we're going to be billionaires. This is how the story starts. So we just dove into it basically. And like, my co-founder had a very good track record as like a strat consultant. And he was, at like, I don't know, like, one of the big consultancies that like pumps out like, people to go work in big companies, you know, like McKinsey or whatever. I can't remember the exact one. It was Ernst & Young. That he was at a small one that got bought by Ernst & Young. That was it. But he then worked as strat consultant at a startup. And I was like, cool, he'll be CEO, I'll be CTO. And then when he quit his job to do it, all the people at the startup basically invested in the company and we raised a very quick angel round. We were very lucky to do that, like at that time with like no traction, no nothing, just like his connections basically. And we just got cracking basically. We're like, yeah, let's build this thing. It's going to take only 6 months. It's only going to take 6 months. Let's build this thing. Let's do it. And that was how we got started with Atlas. Yeah.
I thought the idea was really cool. For a person who live in a very bad, I guess, body coordinates, I thought it was a really cool idea. And I guess love to understand a little bit about, I guess, the process of building the AI, right? Starting from your own problem, you're literally trying to scratch your own itch in a way because you're already doing it for your friends.
Yeah.
Because you don't really want to keep sending emails and messages all the time. Maybe there's an AI that could
Well,
increase
no,
the
but this is
impact.
the problem. You're a smarter business person than me, Max. And like
Yeah.
I actually quite enjoyed
Oh.
coaching defense form. And like it was more like it would be great if they could coach themselves for them, I was
Hmm.
thinking.
Yeah.
And not have to pay for personal trainers who like rip them off and don't know how to coach for them. Anyway, I had a big chip on my shoulder about personal trainers, maybe because they were better with girls than I was at the time. So I was like, you know, like fuck these guys, like I wanna take them down. Like not for good reasons. I had a chip on my shoulder about PTs. And when I learned more about the industry, I've now developed a lot of respect for personal trainers. It's a difficult job. It's basically like cold door-to-door sales, getting rejected in public all the time. Really difficult job. A lot of respect for them. Well, what was I talking about again? AI. Yeah. So like basically we started training it by we just took squat videos, right? And we would annotate them with like each individual rep, we'd annotate good or bad form and why. Because that was like as a coach what I would do. So it would be like, okay, I'm going to annotate that rep number 4, they didn't squat deep enough. I'm going to annotate that rep number 5 was good, that kind of a thing. And then we built a model on top of a pose estimator, which was a skeleton tracking thing that would fit this data that we were annotating basically, and could tell really accurately, that would align really accurately with my expert view of form. And we got that accuracy really high really quickly because like this is a very tractable AI problem. It's not that difficult actually. Well, at least it wasn't for me because I didn't realize at the time I had serious domain expertise as well as an AI brain, and that's actually quite rare. So I knew how to both label the data and sort of break down the problem properly and build the AI to do it, which is quite rare. So we got the technology working pretty fast because we had this rare combo. I don't mean to brag, like I can't do it in other domains. Like I can't label data for my clients at the moment, but in that one, I could both label the data and build the model, which is like a massive advantage basically when you're building products. So yeah.
Cool. Sorry, Rod. I think.
No, I just want to say, so Sam, eh, before, so far, you've been also working as an agency, right? So now you're, let's say, like transforming in a product company. But so far, you've been an agency, and I'm very curious about that. Very curious about, so what's the current situation around agencies and AI? There's been some
Yeah.
discussions around that agencies can achieve product-like margins thanks to
I
automation
thought
and
we were
so
going to
on.
get into why my startup failed. That's the fun bit. No, okay, we'll go straight to what
Okay,
I'm doing at the moment. Well, it's
go
up to
go
you.
go
Yeah,
tell me.
Huh? No, sorry, you were leaving the interview. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Yeah, it's your audience, your content. You want to talk about Artanis, right?
I'm just curious. So how did you go? Because so now
Yeah.
for that was also new to me that now you're doing a product company and that you are now with VC and so on. Before my last standing was
Whoa. We might need to scrap that. Depending on when this is published, we right now do not have VC backing. We've been bootstrapping.
okay. Good to make
We
it
can talk
clear.
about
So
it. We can talk about it. But like as of this second, like we were just an investment committee, but like we haven't terms anything yet, right? So like let's just
soon, it's
not get
coming
ahead of
soon.
ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm sure that
Okay.
whatever
Sorry.
you're building, there's a lot of interest, and therefore, so many investors will be lined up. But nevertheless, so you've been doing
An
so
agency.
far an agency. What's that about? And also,
Yeah.
I'm here very curious if you agree with this thesis that's happening around on the internet that soon agencies will have product-like margins.
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. So, question number one: how did we start this agency? Like everything in life, it always follows from the last fucking thing. And like, and my last startup, Atlas, right, this consumer fitness app, never made any money. Like the app never made any money, obviously, because we forgot to check that people would pay for it, right? Which is like a crucial thing in business. Like you should probably check that people pay for what you're doing. But first time founders, you have to learn some things the hard way. Short version is we didn't really understand the market. And like I did a lot of powerlifting coaching and weightlifting coaching, but I never asked anyone to pay me. And I suspect if I'd asked my friends to pay me, many fewer of them would have sent me their videos on WhatsApp. But the way we kept the business going for like 4 or 5 years, we just had this like tiny amount of initial funding, a bit of follow-on from an accelerator called Techstars and some small VCs after that. We raised about 500K over 4 years, which is like not a lot in tech world, to run a team of 5 as well, right? To run a team of 5. The way we kept it going was because me and someone else in the team both had AI PhDs. Occasionally we get companies email us, be like, hey, we've seen Atlas, like we don't want to buy that, but can we like pay you to build our AI for us? And we were like, usually we're like, no, we're working on a fitness app, sorry. But when our company started to run out of money, we were like, yeah, actually, maybe we should do that and use that to fund the fitness app. Because people have been willing to pay, like 5-figure sums of money for what were easy things for us to build, right? And so we actually were sort of bootstrapping Atlas a lot of the time through AI consulting. And at some point, me and our AI PhD were like, what are we doing here with making a fitness app? Like at some point, we pivoted to being a home workout app to count people doing star jumps in their living room. And it was like, hang on, like we're powerlifters. Like I've never done a star jump in my life. Like how the hell did I end up here making an app to count star jumps? Like what the fuck am I doing? And so we realized it's probably time to call it curtains on an Atlas and maybe move on to the next step in our career. And we realized we've both been in data science AI for a long time. Maybe it's time to make that the next move rather than consumer fitness. And so I freelanced for about 6 months after Atlas because I was getting inbound demand to do AI consulting, and I was getting enough of it to pay the bills. And actually, at some point, took on a partner, Yusuf, because Yusuf's consumer fitness startup, which was actually briefly a client for Atlas, went down at about the same time. And Yusuf and I just did a freelance project together initially. There was nothing formal. The client wired the money to my Monzo account, which was a bit because like you shouldn't take unlimited liability when you're doing tech projects, but like whatever, like I'm not a lawyer. Like I'm definitely not a lawyer. Actually, never, ever pay me for legal advice ever. I'll just tell you to run the risk and ask for forgiveness, not permission. So I'm definitely not a lawyer. But what am I meant to be talking about again? AI, yeah, AI, right. So I get all this freelance demand, and Yusuf and I did a project together. It went really well, and we were like, let's make this freelance thing into a consultancy, Artanis. And we do want to do something with macro scale impact still, which probably means there needs to be a product in there. But we need to learn the lessons from the last one, which is we need to actually check what people will pay for first, deliver that really well, and then think about how to build a product out of it, rather than just raising money, building a product and crossing our fingers, basically. And that was how Artanis started.
So to summarize it, basically you were doing a direct to consumer, so a consumer product, so this fitness app, it wasn't working. They say you had to do something else. During this change, you also found your now current CDO, co-founder, and you say, hey, let's do an agency, right? So basically something that you're selling to other businesses. And
yeah,
here I'm
that's a
wondering,
very clean version of it. Yeah. We don't need to get into my background as a lawyer, right? Like that's not a good use of time on this call. Just to reiterate, folks, never hire me as a lawyer, please do not do it. Right?
we won't
Sorry,
hire you
carry
as a
on.
lawyer, Sam.
Thank
But
you. Yeah.
however, so you had to go and convince companies, hey, let's work together, hire me, give me projects and so on. And so far, you've been doing this. So consumer app, you were doing a fitness app. How do you find these projects, these companies? How do you sell to them? Was it easy?
Yeah. Yeah, no, okay. No. So like the question is the wrong one actually, because it's a bit loaded. You asked me how I find the companies. I don't. They find me. And this is the problem with starting an agency or a services business is you can't really sell outbound because people make the buying decision for a service, like a human, based on trust and referral. So if they're not coming to you already, if you try and go to them, it's not going to work. It's not a commodity. And this leads to a hard lesson because some of your listeners might be like, well, I'd love to start my own AI agency or AI consultancy. How do I get my first customers? How do I find my first customers? And the harsh answer is you don't. They have to find you. And the way you do that is you build up enough of a reputation and a profile in the space by just doing good work day after day for years until people are like, oh, that guy does really good work. Maybe we can pay him to do some work for us and pay him, not like unit of machine learning engineer, not pay a recruiter to find me unit of machine learning engineer or AI engineer, but that specific person. And you just need to do really good work for a long time. And I promise you that'll happen, but it's not a quick fix. It's not like start a Substack, bro, and make 10 posts and then people come flooding in your door. Build a website and run some Google ads and people come flooding in your door. No, it doesn't work. Like you have to just do good work, build a reputation, do the right thing, and then people will start to come to you. And I promise it does work, but it takes time and you need to be willing to put in the time and you need to do something you like, because if you don't like what you're doing, you won't be willing to put in the time. And that's why I'm not a lawyer, because I hate reading at
the same time, Sam, so
yeah.
It's a crowded market, right? And these days, everyone claims to be an AI expert. So
yeah.
It's true that ideally you have this inbound, people know
Yeah.
about you, they trust you and so on, but at some point you got to get started. At some point you got to make some noise, bring people in, and everyone is making noise. So what did you make differently? How did you approach it?
I'm not sure you understand what I'm saying. I didn't make any noise.
Likely.
People were already asking to pay me to build their AI because I just built really good AI stuff for lots of people over the years. Like my own product, I had a PhD. Like people had met me in person and I apparently said smart things about AI, which surprised me because I just fucking ramble, right? I just ramble and ramble and ramble. And I'm like, oh, wow, you want to pay me? Like, are you sure? Have you just had an aneurysm? You want to pay me? Like, okay, well, like, let's check back in a week. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. There isn't a shortcut. Like, it's not about making noise. I need to be really clear with your listeners about that from my point of view. It's not about making noise. It's about doing good work and like meeting people. And you need to find a way to meet people that you like. So you might not like going to conferences. That's okay. I don't like going to conferences either unless I'm a speaker. You might not like going to networking events. That's okay. I also don't like going to networking events. What I like doing is taking lots of random one-to-one calls with people, or just meeting random people for lunch or coffee and just being like, hey, let's shoot the shit, like let's ramble together, etc. And I just do a lot of that because I really enjoy it. And actually that's where all of my business ended up coming from, was like all of these random one-to-one meetings that like I could never have predicted, but they might know someone who knows someone who knows someone who needs some AI built. And then the chain comes back to, oh, I know the guy is Sam. Like, yeah, he said the smart thing to me about AI once. You should probably talk to him. And so there's two things. You need to do good work. And yet you do need to get your name out there, but in a way that is consistent with how you like spending your time. So it is okay to go to conferences. It is okay to go to networking events, but ask yourself, am I looking forward to this? Am I really going to enjoy it? If not, don't do it. Just find something that you do enjoy. Maybe it's posting on Reddit. I don't know. Like people do get customers on Reddit. I don't myself enjoy posting on Reddit. I enjoy reading it. I'm a lurker. I'm a really long time Reddit lurker, but I've never posted on there. Well, except for my last consumer fitness startup, ironically, because I was trying to pick up customers on Reddit, but I didn't enjoy it. And so it didn't work. Right. And so you have to find what you enjoy and do more of it. And that involves both what you build and also how you present yourself.
So it sounds like you were doing really well to building the agency, right? So you can
Yes.
get a lot of inbound people really like you, they trust you. So in theory, you could go in this direction, let's say like forever. So why decide to build a product company, especially if now people say that with agencies and AI, one can achieve product-like margins?
Because I hate myself and I want to fail again.
That sounds good.
No. So Yusuf and I, like, we were very clear from the start that we want to do something with macro scale impact. We always saw the agency as the best starting point for that, and a good vehicle to get there, but not the like long-term play. And we thought, you know, this most sensible path to scale for us probably is a product. However, when you're selling B2B SaaS, it's a blurry line anyway between a product and a service. So, you know, even Google, for example, provides wraparound service to their enterprise customers. Even Google has customer support, which is a service, right? So you're never really like a fully 100% product anyway, no matter what you're doing. There's always some service component. And so sometimes it's not that helpful to try and draw these hard lines between product and service. and just think about like, how do I solve the customer problem as efficiently as possible? And some components of that will be product and some components will be service. And we've decided we want to market it eventually more as a product than a service, because it's quite hard to scale distribution of a service. I think that's the problem, right? It's not that we can't deliver the service more efficiently, it's that you can't scale distribution. Because what I've just told you, like the way to scale distribution of services is to just keep building your brand and your reputation and hope that more inbound comes in. That takes a really long time. It's slow, like, and that's why there are not many VC-backed service companies, right? It's not about efficiency of delivery, it's about scaling distribution. That's why we want to build a product, is because it's much easier to scale distribution than a service. And if you do want to scale distribution of a service, if you want to build a really big consultancy like McKinsey or Ernst & Young or whatever, do you know how you do that more quickly? Do you know what they do? They acquire other consultancies for their customers. They acquire other partners. They also don't have an outbound channel. McKinsey doesn't have an outbound channel. They just buy other partners who have customers already. That's the outbound channel. It's just like, it's not even a channel. It's just acquisition. Yeah. So I don't believe that you can really quickly scale distribution of a service. And that's why I think we want to go the product route primarily. It's also more fun to build a product, isn't it? Let's just be honest. Like, even though you probably fail, like, it is more fun to do. Like I love what I do. I love my job, but like, there's a part of me that's like, is it really ambitious enough to just run an AI agency? Like, I don't know. Like, I think I want to take another big swing. I want to see if we can compete with like OpenAI, you know? Like,
I like that. I love the ambition. I think it resonates with your story about squatting and popping and the vein in your eye, right? Right. If you think about it,
exactly. I just miss bursting blood vessels in my eyes. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's really cool. I mean, it runs in your personality, so that's really cool. I think throughout your story, what I find, I guess, really interesting is you went from you're starting your own AI company because you wanted to solve some of the problem for your friends, right? Get them to coach themselves, and then you went into a little bit more on the consulting side, but also building AI, basically. I would say helping clients to solve their problems, trying to build a better AI. And you also, through both of that and your past experiences, you basically have a good framework that you write about how to build AI that works. Can you talk us a little bit about
How
that?
to build AI that actually works. You've missed the operating word.
Actually works.
It
Exactly.
actually works. Yeah. Because most AI doesn't actually work. That's the dirty secret in the industry, right? Like, the only AI that's like really being deployed at the moment is human in the loop use cases. So it doesn't really work. People don't actually trust that it works, right? Which is why it's a human in the loop. So like, I don't know if this thing actually works or not. Should I screen share now? Aha. Policy. The missing core of the AI stack. This is the best blog post I've ever written, folks. So plug for artanis.substack.com.
Everyone follow that.
Follow it now. Okay, so basically, customers come to our agency and all they see is their AI product doesn't work. Unhappy customer, AI product that doesn't work. And they don't really know what's going on inside. Other than that, they just trust that I can fix it, right? And Yusuf as well. So I used the royal I there. I really meant we. And the royal we means I, just to be clear for non-British listeners. So they know this, and we have to fix this whole circle for them in order for them to pay us. But we know what's actually going on in the middle is something like this. What the customer sees is a deployed model. That's part of their product. It's been deployed in a public-facing way. In order to do that, you need to develop the model. Are you with me? You need to make the model more accurate. You need to get it to do what you want. In order to make the model more accurate, you need to learn how to evaluate it, which is how do you measure how accurate it is. And in order to evaluate it, you need to do something called labeling data. This is basically making a data set of right and wrong outputs for your model. So I can get into that in a sec. But are you guys with me on the call so far? Cool. Awesome. I'm getting better at my job. We thought with customers that all of our work would be in these outer layers of deployment, development, and evaluation, because they're the ones that still require like a little bit of programming usually, although like we're getting to the point where they probably won't, but like, they still require a bit of programming and a bit of expertise. But actually, all of our time was spent labeling because they weren't labeling their data correctly. And we had to really spend a lot of time with them doing that. And that surprised us, right? Like, because labeling back in the day, it was really simple. It was like, is like image recognition. Is this image, is it a cat or a mouse? Is it a hot dog or not a hot dog? Sometimes you might need to classify, is this image a hot dog or not a hot dog? Any Silicon Valley fans on the call?
Yeah, you mean
Nope.
the show?
Yeah.
on the place.
Yeah, the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, hot dog or not hot dog. Do you not remember this? It used to be like these tasks where basically the right label, which we call ground truth, the true label is unambiguous. No one will be arguing about is the image a cat or a mouse or a hot dog or not hot dog. And so these tasks could be really easily outsourced to like Amazon Mechanical Turk at a low cost. And it worked. And that was how we built our initial like computer vision models. But it's changed a lot recently. Like a labeling task that now you might see, particularly with LLMs, is something like this. You're an English teacher marking children's essays for spelling. Give them a pass if they spell consistently across a wide range of vocabulary. But the consistently is not defined. Like, what does that mean? 0 mistakes, 1 mistake, 5. There's 20% of words can have mistakes. Like, what does consistently mean? Wide range of vocabulary, also not defined. Adjectives, adverbs, nouns, how many of each? And so the problem is, like, two people who were labeling the exact same essay could give it a different label. One of them could say pass and the other could say fail. And they're both kind of right because they both have different mental definitions of these words, consistently and wide range of vocabulary. But this is a disaster for model evaluation because without consistently labeled data, you don't know if your model is doing what you want it to. Like without consistently labeled data, all labeling is giving your model lots of instructions. And without it, the instructions you give the model are ambiguous. You've not defined what you want the model to do.
It's almost like a taste and subjective thing, right? Because someone could say, 5 vocabularies or 5 adverbs, 5 adjectives is fine. Someone could say 10.
Exactly.
So it becomes more of an arbiter of taste almost.
Exactly. Let me. You were thinking on the same lines, and I don't want you pitching my vision for me, right? Because I pitch my vision.
Go for it.
Sorry, Max. I'm sure you're great. I've just met you, but I'm gonna. You're getting it. Yeah. So look, have you heard the phrase "beauty is in the eye of the beholder"? Well, now.
First time we hear it.
What? Really?
Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? It's a common phrase in British English. Ground truth is now in the eye of the beholder. Like, what is the true label is now subjective. Yeah, it's like a different English teacher can like legitimately have a different mental definition. And that's really problematic, right? Because it means you don't instruct the model clearly what you want it to do. So we've solved this problem. But this is clear to you why it's a problem, right? For like labeling and evaluation, if you have ambiguity in the instructions given to the labeler. Just say yes or no. I'm looking at my screen. I'm not looking at you guys. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It is to be.
Cool. Nice. All right. So we solve this problem with something we've called policy, which we think is the missing core of the AI stack. And policy basically involves like telling your labelers initially in unambiguous ways what you want them to do. Define consistently. It means 0 mistakes. That's fine. It could mean 1, it could mean 5. I don't care. Just make it unambiguous. Wide range of vocabulary means at least 1 noun, adjective, and adverb. Again, I don't care as long as it is defensible and unambiguous. People can label consistently. Does this make sense to you how this helps the labeler now do their job?
So here's some, so we understand here, let's say like the general ideas, but how does it connect with your companies?
Yeah, this is what my company does, right? We work with customers to get them to set out their policy. We get them to work on their policy. And let me get there, right? Because I'm getting there. I'm about to get there in 1 minute, right? So I promise you I'm getting there. Right. And I won't go back to talking about how I'm not a lawyer, I promise. Oh no, I just did. Okay, never mind. Right. So what we're doing at Artanis, we're not just teaching AI how the human thinks. We're helping humans understand how AI think. It's zeros and ones. It's right and wrong. Black and white thinking gets a bad name because it leads you to torture relationships. Just ask my ex-girlfriend about that. But if we're going to label data, we need to embrace black and white thinking. We are making the human labeler closer to an AI. We're not just making the AI closer to a human, making the human closer to an AI. And once you do that, Rod, this is what I was getting to.
Yes.
Everything now is on solid foundations. People can label their data consistently. So we can measure how accurate the model is. So we can iterate and develop a more accurate model, and we know exactly what it's going to do. And then we can deploy it to our customers, and we are happy with our AI product. That's what Artanis does for its customers. I told you I was getting there, and you just didn't believe me.
So often our listeners, they are not super exposed to AI and so on. So if you were to define Artanis just in 1 sentence, right? Because we're talking about like policy and like here, ground truth is on the other beholder, this, that. But let's say for anyone who just uses ChatGPT, and then they say, hey, this guy
Yeah.
Sam, he looks so super smart, he's super
Yeah.
capable, but what's he's doing?
That's a great definition of Artanis, by the way. Sam's super smart and capable. Let's send him money. Yeah, like that's kind of like how I pick up business at the moment. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Okay, so what's my one sentence pitch?
Yes.
Yeah, we help you build and deploy AI products you can trust. You can just trust them to do a job for you. Yeah, like you don't need to check its output. You can just trust it.
Okay, but this is like, a bit of like a broad definition, right? Because it could be like an agency. You were doing already an agency. This could be.
You asked for one sentence, mate. Obviously, it's a broad fucking definition. Like, do you want me to give you more sentences? So, do you want me to write you an unambiguous definition of what Artanis does? I can try,
Well,
but you asked me for one sentence.
So is your CTO and you, so it's only two of you, and of course
Yeah.
it is like a very lofty, ambitious vision, and of course with only two individuals, even on the age of AI, might be too broad, too much of a challenge. So what will be here like the first phase? You're saying that you're just like launching, it's coming soon. What's like really the very first thing that will be available on the market?
Well, we're available on the market now. Just send me an email and be like, can you help me make my AI work? Yeah, we are available on the market. Are you talking about products or like guys, if you want to build an AI product that actually works and you can trust, you can just send an email to sam@artanis.ai and I'll probably reply saying, I have no time for the next 3 months. I can take a 25% deposit now, but we are soon going to be expanding the team and building a product in the hope that we don't have to tell you to wait 3 months. But if you want to build an AI product that actually works, you can actually do that right now. You just have to send me an email and wait 3 months till we got some capacity. But yeah, does that answer your question? Or
I'm here wondering something, if you will say that right now AI products don't really work or they're very hard to build, but where would you say we're currently as a life cycle in the market doing AI?
yeah, so to go back to .com, we're at the part where like all the venture money was piling in and people didn't really understand how it works. And there's clearly something very promising here with this internet thing, but there's probably a bit more of it needs worked out here. I think that's where we are at the moment, where like the money's piling in from both companies and investors, but none of them really understand, they understand this, like there's an AI product and I want it to do things for me. They understand this, like, oh, it's not doing what I want. But they don't understand this, right? Like this is how you actually make it work. And this is really problematic. So much money is going in something that like is not going to generate economic value right now. So I think there will be a market correction. But the good news is like .com, web has eventually changed the world. It took more like 2 decades than 2 years, but it has eventually changed the world. And like, obviously the internet now is, well, I mean, we're on it, right? Yeah, this is proof in the pudding. I believe the same about AI, but I think it might be more like a decade or two rather than a year or two, and people need to be prepared for that, and that we need to solve this last mile problem if we want to enable anyone to build an AI product that actually works in the way that anyone now can put up a website that actually works. Imagine you were like, in the 90s and you had like a few grand to spend on a website, right? Good luck, get a good website. So I mean, you need like a team of expert website developers. That's kind of like AI at the moment. Like if you want something that actually works, you need to spend a lot of money on it, or contact Artanis because we're cheaper than like, I don't know, hiring like, so there aren't many good AI consultancies. I can't even give a shout out to McKinsey. I can't give a shout out to them. Who's a good AI consultancy I can give a shout out to?
Does Profanity work well with VCs? How is
I don't
it?
know.
So I say you have like a very colorful language. When you pitch to VCs or like customers, does it like work well, or how is that?
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe if I was less profane, they would send me more money. Maybe if I was more profane, they would send me more money. I don't know. I haven't run an A/B test on Profanity. Like, should I do that? Should I do that next time? Should I just like, to take out all profanity of my communication for a year and try and measure, but then it's not a controlled experiment. I can't A/B test my life, Rod. I'm sorry.
It can be like investor A, so it's super polite, everything's super correct. And investor B is like a party talk.
Yeah, but it's not a true A/B because like they're not at the same time. Yeah. So it doesn't actually work. I do see what you mean, Rod, but like it's not a controlled experiment, and I just enjoy swearing, I'm afraid. So I just don't want to run the A/B test. Yeah. But I always take feedback on my communication, particularly because you do need to tailor your communication style to who you're talking to. So if you don't like the way I'm communicating, please tell me right now and I will stop swearing, basically.
Oh, good. I think I wanted to dive a little bit deeper, I guess, specifically on setting up policies, because you obviously gave a very good example about how a teacher would evaluate something. I guess if you're happy sharing, some of the other more business-like problems that you face, slightly more complicated, whereby policy becomes even more important, right? The teacher thing is so interesting. And then how else how else can that I would say proliferate to other
Yeah.
industries, for example, things that you have seen so far? Because
Yeah,
I think
let's do
I
it.
think
Yeah.
it's very, very interesting from a
Yeah,
policy
let me get a
perspective.
different post up. Yeah, because
Yeah.
we've written that's the one about policy, but like we've written a post about medical triage as an
Yeah,
AI example. Yeah,
exactly.
so okay, so this is how to build AI that actually works, number 2, evaluation. Shout out to artanis.substack.com. Again, if you want to read what I've written rather than just listen to me ramble in an unstructured way, then that's where you should go. Okay, so like let's say you have a medical triage bot where people write to it and are like, should I go to hospital? And the bot is like, yes, go to hospital, or no, stay at home. Again, different doctors could like have different policies about this. So like your policy might start with something like this: you're the world's best doctor, answer the user's medical questions accurately and reliably. That's the first version of the policy, right? Like, and it's also the first version of the prompt. But then like something like this happens where like someone having a stroke is told not to worry about it, and you're like, oh fuck, like I don't want my stroke patients to not go to hospital. They probably should go to hospital. So then you need to start breaking down your ambiguity here and say like, oh, and by the way, like tell users who are having a stroke to go to the hospital. Like it's kind of like this. Basically, you need to make your policy like sort of longer and longer. But then there's a trade-off, right, between the length of the policy and people's ability to label the data, because the longer you make the policy, the harder it is to follow. But that's another example in a medical domain, because different doctors can have different opinions. So like one doctor might be like, if your headache, okay, what pain scale is it? Oh, it's a 7, go to hospital. Another might be like, yeah, 7's not quite a brain tumor and aneurysm, actually, to just stay at home, take paracetamol. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, but so different doctors can have their own model, but you can't make one model to please both doctors. So we need to give the domain expert, like the doctor who wants to automate their own workflow, the tool to do that. Like they can't just call ChatGPT, like they need a tool to like align the model with what they want. We're basically solving the alignment problem, if you've heard of that at Artanis, is another way to frame it.
One thing that was coming to my mind, so here, Sam, was you had all these blog posts, you have this very active so Substack. Does that work well with investors? So where we are at the market right now, do they want to see, for example, already something tangible, or for example, they see these visions that say here, hey, here's a visionary, let's support this guy?
Gotcha. So I should caveat 2 things, which firstly, my Substack's not that popular. So let's go to my dashboard. 77 subscribers. So yeah, let's not big this up too much. I occasionally have a post that goes a bit like haywire or whatever, but I don't have many subscribers, and I'm not gonna do a CTA of subscribe. Like only subscribe if you like posts, obviously. But like my CTA would be like read one post. The post I want anyone to read is called AI is a Bubble, which is my first one that I wrote about AI. Which we can maybe give a CTA to, because I think it's aged quite well. I wrote it like when did I write it? Like nearly a year ago, 9 months ago. Look, but so it still only had 505 views, folks, which is not very many. So get in there and read about AI being a bubble. Anyway, should I stop sharing? I'm going to stop screen sharing.
You can stop screen sharing.
Yeah. Investors. You asked me something about investors. Yeah. So what do investors want to see? What do investors want to see? Okay. Let me caveat firstly with VCs are absolutely mental. Like they are so driven by herd dynamics and what other people believe that like it's not really possible to predict what VCs want to see, because they want to see what other VCs want to see. And you see the problem with this, right? Like they just don't know enough about how this stuff works to form their own thesis. Usually you'll occasionally find a very good VC that does. But most of them don't, and so they go off what other people believe, and that's why this is very cyclical, like as an industry, because beliefs can change much more quickly than fundamentals, right? That's why bank runs happen. Like a bank that seems stable, suddenly everyone empties cash because everyone believes it's not stable. That was what I did at the Bank of England, by the way. My job was policy to prevent bank runs. It's funny how I worked in policy and now it's come full circle. Wow, it must be fate. It must be fate. Fate has brought me here. Just like fate brought Artanis and Kerrigan together in the Legacy of the Void campaign at the end of StarCraft. But anyway, let's not get into StarCraft unless you want me to get into StarCraft.
Rather,
StarCraft?
we have
AI.
We have about
AI. Sorry, what investors want to
left.
see? Look, don't get StarCraft yet. Don't get StarCraft yet. Stick with VCs. Okay, so look, yeah, they're really belief driven, right? But like, I think the crucial thing is if you're pitching at pre-seed or seed, which most of your listeners are, I think most of your listeners are not pitching at Series A because vast majority of startups never get there. It's really just about telling a very compelling story. And what they're looking for is like a market that they find attractive, like say AI at the moment, everyone finds AI attractive, and founders that are a good fit for that market, and founders that have a strong view about that market, and just telling a clear story about why as a founder you are going to do well in that market. Um, and just not hedging, basically being like, my job is not to convince 50% of them in a weak way that I may be right. It's to convince like just one or two really strongly that I'm right, and have them send me the check, because you only need one VC, right, to send you the check. So I would say like really be harsh with yourself about, given this market I'm going into, why am I as a founder maybe the best person in the world to win here? That's what you need to be hard with yourself about. And I fucked that up in my last startup because I was good founder for the product we were building, great founder for the product we were building, okay for the market because I coached people to weightlift, but I'd never charged people money, and markets involve money. And so ideally your interactions in the market have involved money changing hands. And so you know what gets money to change hands. And that's why like I haven't tried to sell an evaluation tool like Brain Trust, the Human Loop or whatever, because like there aren't that many people buying evaluation tooling. There's lots of VCs investing in it because like they don't know what they're doing, but like there's not that many people buying it, right? There's a lot of people buying AI products that work, and that's why I'm like, great, we're just going to sell you the whole thing, and like we'll get cracking from there. So I don't know if I answered your question about VCs. I do really enjoy speaking to them, by the way. They're really smart people. I really do enjoy speaking to them. They're trying to do a good thing, but just be aware of what's going on when you're speaking to them, which is like they're not really evaluating your product or your strategy. They're evaluating, are you as a founder the right fit for this market? And your product and your strategy are just a vehicle to have that conversation.
I just have one last question. So here, Sam, and I was wondering here, we covered so many things. So from your weightlifting background, agency, policy, how to sell to VCs and so on. What would you like that our listeners take from this conversation?
Just try and tell the truth and do the right thing. And don't worry about like whether VCs invest in your company or like whether you get promoted or whatever, because I think if you tell the truth and do the right thing enough, like the good things will come your way eventually, even if they don't immediately. And my only regrets, like looking back at my like career or life, when I haven't tried to tell the truth or do the right thing. Sorry if that wasn't about AI, but that's the one thing I'd want people to remember.
That's cool. And I think, maybe we'll just end up.
Also, Entaro Tassadar. Go play StarCraft, and then you'll get more of my Easter eggs as well. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I interrupted the profound moment there.
No. All good.
Yeah.
I guess one last thing, because I can see where this is going. I can see what you're trying to build from a policy, making AI that works. We probably talk a little bit about this, right? What excites you about AI? But if you could reiterate a little bit, right? What excites you most from here, let's say in 5 years' time, right? Within AI? Because you mentioned that it's probably going to take us 20 years to actually get to that big moment. But in
Yeah.
5 years' time, what can people look forward to? As you probably know, right? People are technically quite hurt.
Yeah.
We want to get to that, but we need to constantly, I would say, innovate to get there. Therefore, something to look forward to, even in the shorter time frame. Try to get people there. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Gotcha. Yeah. Say in the short term. Yeah. So, okay, let me caveat that they don't work right now. Do not buy one right now. If someone tries to sell you one right now, don't buy it because it's probably not going to work. But I think in 5 years' time, it's quite possible that AI agents work, where you they're things that you can give a very high level instruction to, like book a meeting with Rod for me next week at the first time he's got free on Tuesday. And the agent will go and like look up your calendar, look up Rod's calendar, book the meeting, etc. And so I think that is possible in 5 years, that like the human computer interface basically changes mostly to natural language. And for me, that's really compelling because it really opens up a lot of opportunity for people that don't like sitting at their computers, like bashing stuff out, to actually get more value from software. And I think that's a really compelling thing that's going on at the moment with AI and sort of non-technical businesses where they don't really like sitting at a computer, and so they haven't been able to get the value from SaaS tooling that like other SaaS businesses have.
Sam, we could go on for hours. There is so much to discuss, and of course, you have so many takes. However, we're here running out of time. So therefore, where can people find you? What about here agency? So what's next? Let us know. So where can people know more about all this?
Awesome. So number one, go to artanis.ai and you can subscribe to either our content on Substack or our monthly updates there. Number two, you can just email me, like Sam at artanis.ai. if I get too many emails to respond to, that's a great problem to have. But for now, just email me and and I will respond because I don't get that many emails, and would love to hear from you. Love to hear any feedback on the podcast as well, particularly how I presented myself. Did I swear too much? Not enough? What do you make of it? That kind of thing. So Artanis.ai for our content and our monthly company updates. Sam at Artanis.ai if you want to get in touch with me directly.
Fantastic. Well, then, Sam, thank you so much. And then I'm sure that many of the listeners, they will find in you someone very insightful. And even if they have not fully understood what the here agency and so on is about, what's policy, they might be just curious, who is this person? I maybe want to get some weightlifting routine and so on. So thank you so much for coming to our show, Sam. And then for everyone, just don't forget to like, subscribe. Also, we have our own newsletter, chrisrothmax.com. And as well as, so here's Sam's one, so you can subscribe to both. And until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Appreciate that.